Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, gallery members. Thank you for your attendance today, media, and all of you who are on Zoom if you're there. YouTube, today's YouTube. Okay, I call to order the November 8 meeting. At this time, we have 2 added items for the agenda. The first one, I believe you've received, is going to be 2021 capital budget adjustment, and it will be going under our new business item 6C. The second item will be the time change proposed for the regular council meeting of November 22nd, and that will be item 6D. Are there any further added items at this time? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Councillor Wilson.
I will so motion to adopt the November 8th council meeting agenda as amended.
Any further questions? Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 2, adoption of previous minutes. We'll have 3 separate motions, please. Item 2A, regular council meeting minutes of October 12th. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that the minutes from the October 12th, 2021 regular council meeting be adopted as presented.
Council have any questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Item 2B, annual organizational meeting minutes, October 25. I'd call for a motion, please. Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, I move that the annual organizational minutes be adopted as presented.
Does council have any questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And item 2C, special closed council meeting, October 29. Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that the minutes from the October 29, 2021 special closed council meeting be adopted as presented.
Sorry, thank you to all of you. I would then ask or call for the vote, please. That's carried. Presentations and delegations. We have a full gallery today. Thank you for being here. On item 3A, recognition of departing elected officials. Mr. Wagstaff.
My apologies, I brought up just the agenda, not the full package, so I'm just bringing up the full package to follow along.
Mr. Wagstaff, I could certainly do the preamp if you wanted to add anything further, that's fine. All right, so this is a time, according to a policy of the town of Olds, that we recognize the departure of elected officials, and we would like to recognize the service and dedication of the departing elected officials of Michael Majiska as mayor from 2017 to 2021, along with Debbie Bennett from 2010 to 2021, Mary Jane Harper from 2007 to 2021, and Mary Ann Overwater, 2013 to 2021, and Mitch Thompson, 2020 to 2021, as councillors, and wish them all the very best for their future endeavours. I would like to ask at this time if any councillors would like to add any further comments. Mr. Wagstaff?
So I would, Your Worship, just like to inform council that per policy, each of these former councillors have received their the remuneration that they receive, and that has been sent to them. And that there is still, once the CAO is returns, still intends to meet with them and have a dinner as a thank you parting gift.
Thank you. For those of you that are watching live or in the gallery, this is concerning Council Policy 109C, recognition of departing council. I'd ask for a motion at this time, please. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I would move that council recognize the service and dedication of the departing elected officials. Michael Majiska as mayor from 2017 to 2021, along with Debbie Bennett from 2010 to 2021, Mary Jane Harper 2007 to 2021, Mary Ann Overwater from 2013 to 2021, and Mitch Thompson from 2020 to 2021 as councillors, and we wish them all the best in their future endeavors. And I think it's a good time to thank them all for their dedication and commitment over at least my last 4 years term, but the time that they've all spent serving the town of Olds.
Absolutely, thank you. Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. Yes, and I wanted to echo those comments from Councillor Blatz. It was a pleasure serving with all of these individuals. And certainly the history that Mary Jane Harper had brought to council is going to be sorely missed. Thank you.
Any further comments? I will call for the vote then. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. And thank you. Item 3B, Mountain View Emergency Shelter Society. And we do have a delegation, Mr. Wagstaff, that you may wish to introduce for council.
I will. I'm going to defer to Community Facilitator Heather Dixon. She's going to introduce the group that she does work with through FCSS.
I just told someone to remember to turn that on, and I didn't do it. So, good afternoon. I am pleased to introduce to you Emily Webb. She's the Outreach Coordinator at the Mountain View Emergency Shelter Society. She'll be here giving you a presentation. Some of it is in regards to the FCSS funding that they get, or that they got in 2021, and as well as what they do, what's happening, what's new. And she also has a proclamation request to put forth to all of you. So with that, I will invite Emily Webb up, and she will proceed.
Welcome, Emily Webb, Coordinator Outreach Services. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you for having me here today. This is the first time presenting here, so I'm a little bit nervous. I'll just begin by explaining a little bit about who we are as the Mountain View Emergency Shelter Society. So we promote and support outreach services for individuals and their families who are seeking support, whether they're leaving or whether they are still in an abusive relationship. And they may be also looking to pursue healthier lifestyle changes as a result of that. I meet with clients within Olds and also throughout the rest of Mountain View County. We have satellite offices. So we're available Monday through Friday for that. Our vision statement, we aim to be a self-sustaining organisation working to eliminate family violence. And our mission statement, the Mountain View Emergency Shelter Society is an all-inclusive organisation that provides support and shelter for adults and children escaping violence. We assist victims of family violence in rebuilding their lives by providing referrals and support services. And we promote awareness, education, and advocate for early intervention and prevention of family violence. The next slide here is about our outreach services. So again, we are available to individuals and families. We meet with people on a as-needed basis, so depending on what their needs are at that time, and we work with them with their goals to help them achieve that. We provide assistance with safety issues by safety planning and danger assessments and a bunch of other tools that we have with respect to issues of the abuse in that person's life at the time. We provide advocacy to our clients as well, and we assist with basic needs. So this could be anything from personal care items to helping them get established in a new home. We also provide referrals to other agencies, resources and shelters if needed, and we can be a source of support as they look to make those healthier lifestyle choices. On this slide here, we can it outlines the statistics of our shelter from 2019 to 2021. So in 2019, we saw a combined number of 69 clients. That was new and continuing clients. And then last year, we had a huge increase of 235%, which went up to 163 clients. And already in 2021, we've seen 150 clients, and this is a 17% increase compared to this time last year, so based on the end of October, which is a 252% increase on 2019. So here is, we have some of our highlights, what we've been achieving and what we've been working towards. So between 2020 and 2021. So we continued to run supportive programming for our clients within the county despite COVID and the challenges. We worked that out to try and we realised the importance of clients needing to have that one-on-one interaction, face-to-face interaction and not having everything over Zoom. So we did still meet with people and do our programming. We had the large increase in clients utilising our services, and for this reason we have fortunately been able to hire an administration assistant. It was getting a bit rough there for a while, trying to do it all alone. So we've hired someone for 12 hours per week, and she provides admin support to myself. We were kind of concerned at that point that we may have to cap our client intake and not be able to take any more referrals because of the limit that we were reaching, but fortunately we've been able to avoid that. An initial 10-year lease was signed with the town of Olds for a piece of land with the ability for this to extend up to 50 years. On May the 12th, 2021, with Wildrose Royal LePage and CKFM, we hosted a radiothon which helped us gain $38,000 toward our shelter building fund. In August of 2021, on the 11th, we hosted our first annual ladies golf tournament at Trail Creek. That was a success. We raised a few $1,000s. That was a nice addition. And we've expanded our current programming for our clients since last year. I do have a full list of our program outlines that can be provided if you'd like to see them. But we went from just having a few in-house programs to we now have around 7 programs that we can offer our clients. The Mountain View Emergency Shelter has also partnered with SAGES. They're a provincial-wide organisation whose aim is to empower individuals, organisations and communities to break the cycle of domestic violence. We've expanded our programming as a result of partnering with them, and we're in the planning stages of becoming a Clare's Law partner. So I don't know if everybody is familiar with Clare's Law, but basically it's a law where people can approach the Government of Alberta for information on a partner or a previous partner if they're concerned about if they're at risk of domestic violence, and to see if that person has a criminal history. So it started off in Saskatchewan, it's come to Alberta, and it's been a huge success within the province as well. So we have some upcoming initiatives and projects. We would like to build a physical shelter in Olds eventually when we can. I believe that the hope is for us to try and make that happen next year, but we're still, again, just waiting to make sure that the funds are available to us. The outreach services will continue, hopefully, once the shelter is built, as a large percentage of all shelters' services are outreach. As a part of our fundraising efforts, some of the events that we have planned within the next year are Family Violence Prevention Month, which is right now in November, a Gift of Hope campaign in December, A radiothon has been planned for May 11th, again next year, with the same organisations as last time. And we're also hoping to do our ladies' annual golf tournament and walk a mile in her shoes. We've also partnered with the Mountain Rose Women's Shelter in Rocky Mountain House. We're hoping to formulate a video series. Again, this is an expensive project, so time will tell when we can make that happen. But the hope is that we can create a series of videos that would be available online so that people can understand what they can expect when they're leaving an abusive relationship. It could be the RCMPs interviewed, Child and Family Services, ourselves, a tour of the women's shelter, and a bunch of other service providers, so that it can help break down that concern that people have when they're trying to leave. So we have some trends and patterns that are emerging in domestic violence at the moment. And here we outline that within the province of Alberta, the Alberta Council of Women's Shelters have reported some facts on 2020. So despite domestic violence supports increasing, the number of women and children staying in the shelters has decreased. And there is a number of reasons for that. So despite public messaging about the measures that shelters have taken to be as safe as possible, some women may be fearful of catching COVID and so therefore wanting to stay away. Some women are not able to call for help or safely leave their homes if they're in an abusive relationship and their partner is now working from home with them. They can't necessarily make a call to help themselves get support to leave. And many shelters have had to reduce the available number of beds to comply with COVID regulations. Domestic violence calls to police have increased across the province. The RCMP saw an 11.7% increase of domestic violence from March to September of 2020 compared to 2019, and that is the RCMP as a province, is my understanding, not local RCMP. We also have some statistics here regarding Edmonton and Calgary Police, how they saw increases as well. And the severity in danger assessment scores, so again, that tool helps us to determine the risk of homicide in an intimate partner relationship that is experiencing abuse. And the Alberta Council of Women's Shelters have noticed that the severity of those scores has increased. So there's more people that are at higher risk. And on this slide here, we just have some facts and statistics from the Alberta Council. And then we have our capital plans. So realising the importance of the outreach services, the MVSS Board of Directors are raising funds to cover the cost of operations and to continue offering outreach services to our victims. Our Board of Directors have increased the number of hours of the outreach worker, myself, from 20 to 30 hours a week. And we still have had to hire an admin assistant as well to take on some extra duties. As well as operations, the board is busy fundraising to build the physical shelter itself. Sorry, I think I wrote that twice. All of our services and programs to our clients are free. We don't charge for any of them. So we're kind of raising funds for those all the time as well. And then challenges and opportunities. So as a non-profit organisation, the challenge that we continue to face is raising funds. Don't we all? And so basically that's an ongoing thing for us, and it's something that we have to work hard at. We have grown in recent years, obviously with the statistics that I explained, and we've tried to offer more comprehensive and educational programming for everybody. I also now offer a drop-in session in each town within the county throughout each month, and then in addition I go out to those towns to see clients on a needed basis for appointments as well. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening to me talk so much. don't know if anybody has any questions.
Emily, that was excellent for your first shot.
Oh,
You should
thank
do it more. Well, you do it a lot, but thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you very much.
Before I ask my question, I'll go around the table for council first. Anyone have any questions? Councillor Blatz and then Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl, and thank you, Emily. That was a very excellent presentation that you've just given us, and I appreciate this information. I think that we probably need to make many more of our residents in the town of Olds aware of what this committee is doing and what this group is trying to accomplish. I think that might help with some of your fundraising and some of the awareness. And my question for you is somewhat going back to your statistics here and looking at them. And I noticed last year there, of course, was a significant increase, 235%. And to date this year, a 26% increase. And I suppose this is probably due to partially COVID, unemployment, the stresses from all of the things that we've all experienced over the past year, uncertainty with jobs and stuff. So I assume that that's really where a lot, maybe perhaps the increase in the need for your group, or perhaps is it the awareness that your supports are now available, although you've indicated that not everybody really comes forward, but overall, I wonder if it's those two things that are making people start to become, and maybe getting rid of the stigma of family abuse too. Mental health and family abuse, we tend not to, even in today's society, we tend not to discuss it, which is unfortunate. And maybe that's it. And so I guess my question is, do you think that's why you're seeing increased numbers?
Thank you, Councillor Blatz. Yeah, I do believe that those are some of the cases, because it's been a provincial-wide increase as well. And I think, as you pointed out, given the fact that there are potentially already unhealthy relationships within the home, then people are now working from home together or not able to work, and then there's the depression and all those kind of things that are caused with unemployment and the other factors. Add to that then that our kids are not at school here and there, and I think it would be enough to cause a lot of problems in a positive, healthy relationship. So when they're already in an unhealthy relationship and then they have those factors in addition, I definitely think that that's contributed, and that seems to be the theme that other people are thinking as well. And I do also think as well that the fact that we are out more in the community these days has probably helped as well. We definitely try to, especially the last year and a half, I would say, we've really made a push to be more visible and more aware. And we do actually, again, because we are all inclusive, we work with men as well. And although these statistics are explanations explained women, it's because there's not enough data on men, because not enough men do come forward. But we absolutely work with men and the women and their families to try and help support them. So I think that big push has probably drove those numbers up as well. Thank you very much.
Emily, we're going to Councillor Ryan.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl, and through you to Ms. Webb. I was just wondering how far along you are in your fundraising for being able to build in Olds. I know that the last council provided a nice piece of land in the community, so I'm just wondering how far along you are, and you had mentioned perhaps maybe next year, but that might be a reach. But I'm just wondering how you're doing with that.
Yeah, I believe that there's still site planning to be done with the town, but my understanding is that the hope for this is that potentially we could break ground in the spring, although I don't have the actual financial figures. I don't have those available to me, but it's just from my board, the information that I gained from the board of directors. So hopefully that is a possibility for next year, and if not, then we will continue to keep raising those funds until we can. Yeah, and we, like, as you mentioned, we do have the piece of land secured. Now it's unfortunate that the costs of materials have gone up as well this year as well. So, yeah, but thank you very much.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl, and thank you again as well, Emily, for a great presentation, and definitely fills a void and a need in the community. I have just one or two questions, and one is, so where do people go now when they need shelter? And what does that coordination look like? I think you mentioned there's satellite offices or services available, so how does all that happen?
Yeah, so thank you for your question. When somebody needs shelter at the moment, we actually have to point them out towards other areas such as Rocky Mountain House, Red Deer or Calgary, and which is unfortunate because the problem that they face then is not just leaving that relationship. They may have to leave their job because they're no longer close enough to work there. They may have to pull their children out of school because they can't get their kids to school in the same town anymore either, which is why we feel that it's important to have something within the county. So basically what happens at that point is we have to do a bunch of calling around to the shelters to see if there are available beds, because sometimes there aren't. So some people could end up in Edmonton, for example, when they just want to go to Red Deer or Rocky Mountain House. And the other scary part is that sometimes victims of domestic violence will then stay in the relationship because all of those other factors are too big. They feel like that's a reason that keeps them there. And so we want to try and break down some of those barriers so that they do have support when they need to leave. And on average, they say that a woman will leave 7 times before she leaves for good because of the cycle of domestic violence. So it takes a lot of coordination with the shelters, and then we have to arrange emergency transportation if needed through the government of Alberta. And there's a lot of work that goes into that, but sometimes as well they will stay in that home for a little bit until I can assist them with finding another house within the county that they can move to. Yeah.
My question would be, do we know what it looks like yet, the vision for the facility? How many beds would it be? And secondly, how long can they stay? Because I have had an inquiry about an incident, and they said they couldn't go back because they outstayed their stay.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've heard of some of those instances as well, Mayor Dahl, so I'm saddened to hear that you have as well. I don't know exactly what the board are proposing in terms of bed capacity and in terms of length of stay.
Moment, I believe we have an answer coming from the floor. Thank you. Carol Johnson.
Carol Johnston, and I am secretary on the board of the Mountain View Emergency Shelter Society. And as Emily is trying to answer this question, I want to say that the look of shelters, physical shelters for emergency shelters has changed. At once they were very much a dormitory style with a kitchen, and now they are looking at more so that the individual has some privacy and some sense of independence. So perhaps a bedroom with a very small kitchenette and a bath attached. And this is what we would ultimately like to do, is to build that type of facility. However, again, as Emily said, funds are an issue. And we have found some funding through the CMHC. Whether we actually can get it is another issue, but we are working on that. The lengths of stay depends on the type of facility. There's 2 or 3 levels of funding. Emergency shelters tend to be, I believe it is about 3 weeks?
21 days.
About 3 weeks. And then there's a second stage housing in which it is an individual apartment, and people are allowed to stay there for up to 6 months to a year. And with that, then they get some training, perhaps some additional education, which allows them to go out and be independent. Does that answer your question, Mayor Dahl?
Absolutely, it does, and it sounds like the right direction. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thanks, Carol.
Any further questions from council at this time? I'd ask for a motion then, please. Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. Just maybe mention it and I missed it. How old is the society? How long have you been around?
It's 10 years that we've actually been around, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Acting CEO Doug Wagstaff.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to make a couple of comments before we moved on to the to the motions. First of all, I did want to recognize also with Emily Webb today is two board members, Carol Johnson and the President, Joe Kerrigan. Thank them as well for coming in support. Second to that, I did want to provide council with some information that Councillor Ryan had touched on, that we do, as the Town of Olds, are in an agreement with the society that provides a 0.64 acre piece of land that is across from where the bowling alley is when you cross the railway track. So that's 5001 Street. So currently, right now, many in the community would know that is the parking lot for the cross-country skiing in the winter. That is the chunk of land just between O.R. Hedges Ball Diamonds and the railway. So it's a portion of those lands that has been provided for the emergency shelter to potentially build upon if they're able to raise the funds. They have a 5-year agreement with us starting in June 2021, so they have until June 2026 to begin construction. So that provides them a window of opportunity again to do some fundraising, get everything in line that way and be prepared to build and then operate out of that site. The other portion to that was if something was to come up for the society where another location that is desirable for them to build on within the geographic boundaries of the County of Mountain View, which could include another municipality other than Olds. And we worked with the foundation, worked with the society so that they had that flexibility that if someone bequeathed to them some land, or they were able to, come up with a suitable location as well, in lieu of them having to construct something, that they still had that flexibility, and that they would still have some support from the Town of Olds to pursue that, as you've heard about the needs for Olds and our region. So in lieu of that, if that kind of opportunity came up, there was also a commitment that for $50,000 to support a emergency shelter within Mountain View County. So with that, given the opportunity, we'd certainly encourage, though at this point in time, the location they've selected is in Olds. It's to serve more than just our town, that we'd encourage the county and other municipalities within the County of Mountain View to also engage with the Mountain View Emergency Shelter and consider the support that they may be able to give. So I wanted to raise those two important pieces just to give you as information and an opportunity for the society to reach out to others within the county. And as a prelude to that, Emily, did you want to comment anything about the proclamation any further?
Thank you. I actually just wanted to put forward that request for the proclamation. That was all that I wanted to do. Yeah.
Certainly did receive that. We'll make
Okay.
a separate motion for that.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and the honor is ours. Thank you. I would then ask for the first motion, please, for the presentation. Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the council thank Mount View Emergency Shelter Society for presenting to the council and accept the presentation as information.
No further comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Now for the proclamation, please, for Family Violence Prevention Month. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that November 2021 be proclaimed as Family Violence Prevention Month in the Town of Olds, and that their presentation be accepted for information based on this. Thank you.
And does council have any questions with the proclamation? It will be posted, I'm certain, directly after our council meeting for those that are watching and anyone in the gallery that chooses to read. All right, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Once again, thank you for your time and this excellent future for our, which we call it hope, and hope is the future. So we'll make it happen. Good. Thank you very much. We'll move to item 5A on your agenda at this time. This is a borrowing bylaw for the line of credit. Did you want Sheena Linnerman?
Thank you. So today we're looking for all three readings of borrowing bylaw 2021-18. This is for our line of credit, just on our general banking account. Our bank requires a new borrowing bylaw to be passed each year. Just a little bit of background information on it. Previous to COVID, it was always at $500,000. When COVID hit and we were unsure of our cash flows, we did increase that to $2 million. And I'm now asking to bring it back down to $500,000.
I'll open the floor to questions prior to moving to first reading. If there's any questions, Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Your Worship. Directed to Director Linderman, is this a contingency account that we use to have in case of, or is this something that we use for cash flow?
It is just a contingency, yes. It has never been dipped into. We do keep adequate funds in our bank account, but just on that off chance, we have some rather large things that come out once in a while, and just just in case.
Thank you.
Mr. Wagstaff.
And just add clarity to just in case that it would be for cash flow. So it wouldn't be, just it's to access cash if needed, correct?
Yeah, just so we don't obviously run into an NSF situation. We are alerted immediately and would transfer funds from another area, but this just helps in case funds are tied up in investments or whatever.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. And I think Director Linderman answered the question, but I'll ask it anyway. So in the last 20 months, basically since COVID started, we never did tap into this line of credit or the extended amount?
No, we never did have to go into it.
Thank you.
So it looks like a little bit of housekeeping on ATB's part as well, just to have a new one on file annually. So I'd ask for the first reading on the floor, please. Who would like to make first reading? I see Councillor Walsh first.
Yeah, I move that bylaw 2021-18 be a borrowing bylaw to establish a line of credit with Alberta Treasury Branch for the purposes of paying operating expenses, be introduced and given first reading.
Okay, any question, Councillor Blatz?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Director Linderman, should we not have the limit in this bylaw? Is it imperative that we do? I don't see any amount on here. And
So it is in the actual bylaw. Number 1, principal sum of $500,000.
oh, okay. Pardon me. I did read that, but I guess I obviously missed it. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, we have first reading on the floor. Any further questions? I'll call for the vote then. Those in favor? That is carried. And I believe Councillor Ryan had her hand up. Would you like to put second reading on the floor?
Thank you, Mayor Dole. Yes, I will. I move that bylaw 2021-18 being a borrowing bylaw to establish a line of credit with the Alberta Treasury Branch ATB for the purposes of paying operating expenses be given second reading. And I just want to say thank you, Sheena, for bringing this forward and having it reduced down to $500,000.
Any further comments? Okay, we will vote then on the second reading. Those in favor? That's carried. Now we need to have unanimous consent to move forward for third reading. Do I have, and I need that, oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that unanimous consent be given third reading to present borrowing bylaw 2021-18 for third reading.
Thank you. I will ask if there's any questions before we vote for unanimous consent. Seeing none, those in favor? That's carried. Third and final reading, please. Who would like to make that motion? Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Your Worship. That bylaw 2021-18 being a borrowing bylaw to establish a line of credit with Alberta Treasury Branch for the purpose of paying operating expenses be given third reading.
All right, so we're just going to call for the vote here. We're at the final. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. Moving down to new business, item 6A, Proclamation Veterans Week, November 5 to the 11th, 2021. Yes, Mr. Go ahead, Doug.
I will speak to this proclamation. So raised, we've always practiced this in the town of Olds. However, it's never been a formal proclamation. Last year it was pointed out by Councillor Blatz that this should be something that we bring forward, not just as a practice, but a formalized proclamation. So this year it has been brought forward for the town of Olds to recognize Veterans Week in 2021. That includes a number of events, which I'll just cite today. The Royal Canadian Legion notes that today, November 8th, is shoot, no, I just have to look it up. It is, no, it's not the, so they launched the poppies on the 5th, but today is, my apologies.
Help him out, Councillor Cummings.
Maybe mine keeps dying here. The poppy campaign starts the last Friday of October every year.
Well,
The November 8th is National Indigenous Veterans Day. Today, the Legion honors and thanks all Indigenous veterans for their service to Canada. So
What?
that is November 8th, and I wanted to make sure I had the correct terminology that they use to recognize that. So that just goes to show that the entire week is something that they, not just the ceremonies that occur on Remembrance Day itself, but there are a number of things that across Canada that the Legion does for remembrance of veterans.
I watched that on the news first thing this morning. It was a lovely ceremony in Calgary. It was absolutely touching. But thank you for sharing that. Who would like to put the motion on the floor, please, for the proclamation? Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that, thank you. So I move that the week of November 5th to 11th, 2021 be proclaimed as Veterans Week in the town of Olds.
Any further questions? Those, oh, Councillor Blatz?
Thank you, Your Worship. Not a question, but just a comment. I did listen this morning and did happen to drive by the Sunrise Crescent area where their residents in there have done a poppy display on their front lawn, and I would encourage anyone to take a drive by. It's quite a touching and moving tribute to our veterans, and I think that as part of this week, we should potentially all have a little look at that. I think it's very nice. And for those who weren't aware of it, I think it, and, you know, for the listening public and for anyone else, that they might want to take a drive by and have a look at that.
CEO Wagstaff acting.
And I do want to share with council that the mayor has been invited to, on your behalf and all of the residents of Olds' behalf, to be part of the Remembrance Day ceremonies at the Royal Canadian Legion this Thursday. If other members of the public or other members of council wish to be involved in that, there are restrictions to the numbers this year, again, due to COVID, and they're having a scaled down ceremony. So that people are to RSVP the Legion by tomorrow, November 11th, at 403-556-6406, or email rcl@rcl105.ca if they desire to be involved in the ceremony this year.
Recording clerk has a note.
I would just like to bring a point of order that there's an error in the proclamation that will be amended prior to signing.
Could you please state that?
The fourth whereas has the date of November 51st.
Thank you. We will certainly make sure the proclamation is up in the right order. Okay, we didn't get that motion? Oh, yes, Councillor Wilson has a motion on the floor for the proclamation. If there's no further questions, those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Good discussion and a lovely service this morning. It was very touching. Now we're moving down to item 6B, proclamation, and this one is the proclamation of Metis Week. And I see we do have Doreen here, the elder, our elder, Elder Doreen Burgum. And would you like to do the introductions for anything towards the, to previously calling for the vote?
I would like to bring forward Michelle Jorgensen, Heritage Advisor, to introduce our guest.
Welcome, ladies.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, Council, and everyone who's here today. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the land that we're on and the peoples who have been in deep relationship with it since time immemorial. Here in Olds, Alberta, we are on Treaty 7 territory, traditional lands of the Niitsitapi, the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the people of the Stoney Nakoda, the Chiniki, Bears Paw, and Wesley First Nations. This is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, and I'm honored to introduce today Elder Burgum, who is the elder with Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, Elder Doreen Burgum. She's here today, and we're so honored to have her here to talk to us about Métis Week, which is November the 15th to the 21st, and speak to a request for flying of the Métis flag and an official proclamation to recognize Métis Week in Olds. So with that, I'll introduce Elder Burgum.
Welcome. And most certainly the floor is yours.
There we go. Now I can holler. Ooh. No, good afternoon, Mayor and Council of Olds. It's truly an honor to be here today, and it's also a very emotional time for me because I was born right here on this spot in 1945 in the Olds Hospital. And I've often heard there's no Métis or reserve around Olds, and I'm afraid we've been around for a while. And I'm going to ask Michelle to hand out our story starts in the cemetery, the old cemetery. And I was honored to do the story of the Métis and all our relatives and friends and families who are buried there in the old cemetery. So our history, I am a Dumont. My maiden name is Dumont. Very rich history, and my hero is Gabriel Dumont. My mother's maiden name was Vanessa, and part of her, I have truly a rich heritage. My great-grandparents, Baptiste and Catherine Vanessa, owned their homestead in Calgary was Section 15 in the late 1800s. My grandfather was born in Calgary on July 19th, 1885. And on that location, Section 15 in Calgary, where the Saddle Dome sits today, is the land that my great-grandparents homesteaded on. But that's just part of my mom's history. And so we've been thrown into this word Indigenous. And the Métis have been hiding in plain sight for 150 years. And so that's my role as an elder, is to come out and educate our society on who the Métis are and get proper recognition for for their accomplish in building this country. And I would say building Olds and Sundre. There was 5 of us out of 10 that were born in Olds in the hospital. And we were raised in Sundre. And in the 40s, there was no cemetery, there was no hospital in Sundre. So this is where we were all born. And Sundre didn't recognize the Métis as helping build their town. And my mother's moccasins were displayed in the First Nations side. And so I went to a meeting and I said, really, it's time to separate the cultures. First Nations, Métis, and Inuit all have individual cultures. And it's time to organize the Métis so that we can be recognized properly and move my mother's moccasins to where they should be, in a Métis display. So what they said to me, they said, you go right ahead. So I did. So now Sundre has a proper display of the Métis people. But in recognizing Métis Week, November 16th, 1885, is when they hung Louis Riel. So this goes back, and we've been celebrating Métis Week for I don't know how many years now. But that's where we enjoy our culture, we enjoy each other's company, we practice our music, our dance, and our laughter. We love to laugh, and we could only do it in our own space. So I'm going to share my prayer with you today, and encourage you to fly our flag on from the 15th of November to the 21st this year. God, our Creator, we thank you for guiding our leaders and elders to finally get recognized as a Métis nation in our Canada. Today we walk tall with gratitude and great pride in the spirit and footsteps of our ancestors. April 16th, 2016, recognizing the Métis Nation as its own culture and identity. Métis people were finally citizens in our Canada. June 27th, 2019, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario, Métis nations sign a federal agreement with the federal government for self-government. Bless our Métis flag, which symbolizes our ancestry of Aboriginal and European cultures. Bless the infinity symbol that suggests the Métis people will exist forever. Bless our fiddle and our feet so we can continue to share our dance, the Red River Jig, the Duck Dance, the Reel of Four, and the Drops of Brandy. Bless our Michif language, one of 20 Indigenous languages to be saved. Bless our anthem and the true story it tells of the Métis people. Bless our hands, head, and heart, so we can continue to pass on the art of beading, painting, embroidery, sewing, and moccasin making. Bless our sash. Help us to honor and protect our sash for future generations. Bless our Métis veterans for their service and commitment to our Canada. God, our Creator, as we move forward, help our children and youth find the balance between past and present in tradition and spirit. Be proud of your Métis heritage. Our Métis culture is worth it. Tatwananan.
Thank you, Elder. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with council as a whole and the gallery. I would open the floor at this time if any of you have any questions for Elder Doreen. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl, and thank you for your presentation. You talked about education. I'm just wondering, what are some of the vehicles and platforms you're using for education, whether it be in the schools or elsewhere?
We have, our department is Rupert's Land for Education, and they are sponsoring and paying for education for all the Métis youth and young adults and adults that never had a chance to get their secondary education. So I think when they put that out, it was, there was probably over 600 Métis students that have applied. So we're out there educating people and showing you who we are. And I'm looking forward to the freedom that the Métis people will have to finally come out of hiding for after 150 years and be proud of their Métis culture, especially the youth. I'm educating the youth right now in dance and moccasin making, beading, education on our history, and I would like them to be able to teach and educate society on who they are, and therefore they can walk proud and be proud of who they are.
I believe that you will certainly have the benefit of partnering with many locals. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Are we ready, Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl, and through you to Elder Berg. I was wondering if you could tell me, and welcome, and thank you for your presentation, by the way, and nice to see you again. I was wondering if you could tell me, do you have anything special going on during November 15th to the 21st to celebrate and while you're recognizing Métis Week?
Usually in all the locals, it's they celebrate our culture and the flag raising for sure. And we have community gatherings, and we celebrate with on being who we are with every local. There's this particular letter came from the local in Red Deer, and that area covers Innisfail, it goes right to Didsbury, and Trochu, Three Hills, all the surrounding small towns that it represents the Métis people within that region.
Just a supplemental on that. So do you have anything specific for that the public can join in on during that week as part of your celebrations?
No, usually the flag raising. But my daughter and I have started a Métis education here at her barn, just probably 3 kilometers from here. And we're teaching beading and moccasin making, capote making, jigging. We're giving, in fact, we had a jigging in her barn probably 2 weeks ago. And with all of her tenants, because she, I think she looks after about 17 horses. And so we use her facility for education training. And people are welcome to come out, and we do put notification on when we're having an event on Facebook, and love to have you come out and learn about our Métis culture.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Councillor Blatz?
Oh, and also, this I have to share. During Métis Week, I'm involved at the University of Calgary, the Calgary Public Library, just about all, and the City of Calgary. And the University of Calgary is having a Métis evening and on November 17th. And they've invited my sister, Marilyn Dumont, who is a poet and a professor at the U of A, to speak. And I'm also invited to do my Métis prayer. So we'll have a Dumont Sisters education night that night. But they also include the Chantal Fiola from Manitoba. So there's all sorts of different virtual sessions going on as well, and teaching for the First Nations, Métis and Inuit.
Thank you for sharing that. Councillor Blatz?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Elder Burgum. Elder Burgum, when you mentioned that you do education sessions out at your daughter's, Carla's barn there, do you advertise this through the local schools?
No, we haven't yet.
Okay.
No,
Is that
because of COVID.
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious about that. I think that might be.
I do have an education family game. It probably, it's sort of like a scavenger hunt.
Mhm.
And we have billboards with our probably 24 different, like the teaching of the sash and the capotes and the hunt and the buffalo and all of these is in our teaching session, but we haven't had a chance to run it yet.
Okay.
Because of COVID, but we are thinking of just having families, maybe for, this program takes probably 2 hours. And if we had families come at different times throughout the day to be COVID safe, because it's just a barn and fresh air, but no, the teachings will carry on then.
Okay.
In fact, we're going to be setting up our schedule here soon.
All right. And when you say you advertised, are you advertising through the Moccasin House Facebook page?
No, I haven't. No,
Okay.
not yet.
All right. All right. I just wondered when you said you were on Facebook. So are you just, is there a
Just
separate?
her private.
Oh, okay.
My daughter's private business.
Oh, all right.
It's called
Okay.
the Main Attractions.
Main attractions?
But we do have our own little company, my daughter and I, and it's called A Beat of Your Own Drum.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just kind of getting organized, and we're going to set up a schedule.
Okay. Well, that would be
And
great.
then we'll advertise.
I'm sure that Ms. Jorgensen will share that with us when she gets that information as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you.
I know you'll be successful because you never give up, and I'm real proud of you. Thank you. At this time, then, I'd entertain a motion, please, to recognize Métis Week in the town of Olds. Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor Dole. I move that November 15th to 21st, 2021 be recognized as Métis Week in the town of Olds.
Any further questions? I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. And finally, please, the second motion, please, to fly the Métis flag. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. It is my honor to move that council direct administration to fly the Métis flag in front of the Town of Olds Administration Office commencing November 15th through to November 21st in commemoration of Métis Week in the Town of Olds.
Thank you very much. No questions? I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Great honor. Thank you for your attendance today.
Merci and dit one and on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now at your added item 6C, capital budget adjustment. Acting CEO, who would you like to speak to this?
If Director Linderman can please speak to this motion.
Thank you. So being presented today is an adjustment to the 2021 capital budget, an adjustment of $2,000. We had an emergent situation last week at our RCMP detachment with our boiler system. So being proposed today is a replacement of this boiler system with a smaller hot water tank. The reason it is only $2,000 is our HVAC system, which was already in the budget, had come in under budget by $5,000. So we're asking to move those funds to this. The total cost for this hot water tank is $7,000.
Thank you for the information shared for your capital budget adjustment. It's very clear in here. Any questions? I would call for a motion. Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Your Worship. Oh, can you just go down again? Nope. Sorry. I move that the council approves the adjustment to the 2021 approved capital budget in the amount of $2,000 for a total 2021 capital budget of $12,944,919 as presented.
Any further questions? Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I do have a question. I'm not sure if it fits in or not, perhaps for Director Greico and Acting CAO Wagstaff. So does something like this, would it fit in under our asset management plan, or is this too small an item to be on there? Or our asset management plan is in the works and being finalized?
I'm going to defer to Director Linderman after I make one comment, and that's, I believe it's both. It's minute in the fact that it would be too small to be in the larger plan, but it is part of our wide spectrum of asset management.
Yes, and I'll just add to that it is still in the works, the asset management plan. This does fit under our tangible capital asset plan, though.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion on the floor at this time. No further questions. I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Second added item is item 6D, and this is being brought to us with regards to changing the time on November 22nd, as there are 3 members from council going to the rural municipalities of Alberta and Edmonton, and we were hoping to get there before dark. Are there any questions in this regard? It's the motion is very clear. All right, I'd ask for the motion to be put on the floor. Are you looking for a question?
Yeah.
Councillor Daly?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I have previous obligations at this time during the day, and so if it is approved to go through, I will be late for that meeting for sure.
Well, that, everybody certainly does work around the table, and absolutely we accept that. So the proposal will be for moving it to 10 a.m. It will be a meeting that will have a lot of discussion, so we want to give us enough time to be gone before it got too dark. Acting CAO Wagstaff.
Just to give some added information towards what the mayor had mentioned about there will be one major item on the agenda that day that will take a significant amount of time, and that's the presentation of the report from our consultant that has done the Mountain View Regional Parks, Recreation and Culture Master Plan. So that's primarily what will be on the agenda for that day, and we anticipate that taking anywhere from 90 minutes, depending then from there how long council's going to have for questions. So just to give you some perspective to why we were concerned about the amount of time, it was not an agenda where we thought it would be wrapped up really quickly in time for the other councillors to be able to leave and safely travel.
Perhaps we can put it on as the last item on the agenda to give you time to get here. Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. Just through you to Acting CAO Wagstaff. That was a mouthful. Why would we not have a separate presentation done from them outside of a council meeting? And is there a reason for that?
Again,
or even have it in a PMP?
Well, when we looked at the calendar that you have as council in these 2 months following the election, it was quite tight. The December P&P agenda, we like to dedicate, and when I say we, I mean both administration and council, like to dedicate that to budget and not stack any other significant, especially, well, any other presentations, but especially something that we expect that's going to take an hour to 90 minutes. On the P&P meeting, we want to dedicate that meeting to have your focus on the budget. Not just your focus, all of our focus on the budget.
Would it be possible to push that to the end of the agenda, and Councillor Daly wouldn't miss most of it then?
We can certainly work, the mayor and the CAO can work on crafting an agenda that can try to accommodate that, yes.
Okay, may I have a motion on the floor, please? How about one of you gentlemen that didn't get one yet? Go ahead, Councillor Walsh, would you like to make that motion?
Okay, I would like to move that the council change the start time of the regular council meeting for Monday, November 22nd, 2021 to 10 a.m.
Final comments? Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. So just a question for Acting CAO Wagstaff. Is there an urgency relative to this the Parks and Recreation Region Plan presentation? Was there a deadline?
Part of it is wrapping up our consultant. So the scheduled timeline that they've had over the last 9 months has been that they would deliver their presentations before year end to all the councils, so that county council and all of the municipalities within the county of Mountain View would around the same time receive their presentation. So that's what they're trying to schedule around.
Certainly makes sense with our rural partners in the area. All right, no more questions. I call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Very good. Reports from council, boards, and committees. We have, okay, we'll be busy. Quarterly financial position, nothing to date, and correspondence and information. I would call on Councillor Ryan. She has some information to share with us today.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I appreciate the few minutes here. Most of council, if you had gone into your mailbox today, you would have received some talking points from SEWA. I just wanted to provide just a brief information that they will be making a presentation at AUMA on November 18th at 9:30. So they'll be in one of the, probably one of the education sessions, or they'll be in one of the main sessions. So just thought I would let you know about that. Town of Olds has been a supporter of SEWA, and certainly our Economic Development Officer, Manager of Economic Development, I'm not quite sure what the title is, Larry Wright is here, and he has done a lot of work with SEWA over the last few years. And I thought I would just briefly let everybody know that that's coming up. That's an information item.
Yes, thank you. And Mr. Wright certainly does wear many, many hats. Acting CAO Wagstaff.
Councillor Ryan, for the public, would you mind just indicating what the acronym SEWA stands for?
Sorry.
Please?
Sorry, it stands for Southern Alberta Energy from Waste Association.
To which there's many partners, and we will learn more. Very good, thank you. At the same time, we have correspondence and information to be received for information. I will note, or maybe I'll see if you note. I will bring to your attention, there is one item here that does reflect. My question to council around the table is, typically in the past, and I'm not certain where you brought it to today, when we would receive information as far as Ontario, et cetera, and letters, we would stay to our regional area and local area when it came to correspondence. We certainly can continue to receive them, but there is a correspondence in here. And if you do choose to accept all correspondence, I have no problem with that, but I would ask administration to please correct the error of His Worship Mayor Darren Wilson and council to the correspondence, so they are in the know of our council. So I would call for a motion then. And that item is, on your request for decision, that item is item D, Parkbridge. It's a congratulations letter. Otherwise, is there any further questions to any of the correspondence that has been presented to us for information? May I please have a motion from the floor? Yes, Councillor Cummings.
Thank you. I got handed the paper to do this. So I would put a motion forward to the floor that the correspondence and information report ending November 8th, 2021 be received for information.
Thank you. And we will have our recording clerk contact with the proper council who are sitting around the table. Any further questions? Seeing none, those in favor? That is carried. Very good. Now we are at our session on our agenda. Our last item of business now would be our Olds Policing Advisory Committee, to which we will move into a closed session for. I will just read for the viewers that are remote. When council goes into a closed session, meeting attendees have two options for continued participation in the virtual council meeting. You may click on the Leave Meeting button and leave the meeting, and then watch our town council website and Facebook pages for live updates as to when council will return. Administration will post when the meeting will reconvene, and the meeting attendees are able to rejoin the virtual meeting at that time. Or you may stay online in the virtual room platform, and administration will bring you back as attendees to the meeting while council is in their closed session. Once council has returned, all meeting attendees in the waiting room will be brought back to the open meeting forum. At this time, I would ask a councillor, please, for a motion to move to this closed session with the FOIP section. Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I would move that council on Monday, November 8th, move into a closed session per FOIP Section 17, disclosure harmful to personal privacy.
All those in favor? Oh, one moment. Councillor Blatz?
I think legislative clerk will have a point of order on this.
Please.
We need to know who will be your attendees remaining in the closed session.
Okay,
All right.
so we'll just go around this table.
Yep. All existing councilors, Director Linderman, Acting CAO Wagstaff, and Director Greco would remain. Oh, that's right. Director Andrew and Legislative Clerk McKinnon. My apologies.
And all council.
Yes, I covered that at the start.
Thank you. We're all good with that? Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
I'm still flustered from 5 minutes ago when you mentioned my name.
Okay, we're back. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, for all those waiting live with us. At this time, we are going back to item 10A in your agenda, Public at Large Appointments, Olds Policing Advisory Committee. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. It's my pleasure to make a motion that Mary Ann Overwater, Judy Tom, and Del Bard be appointed to the Olds Policing Advisory Committee, OPAC, upon completion of a suitable criminal record and swearing of an oath in office for a term of 2 years to expire at the 2023 organizational meeting.
Thank you for that. If there's no further questions at this time, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. I would entertain a motion for adjournment at this time. Councillor Daly. And don't read the clock on the wall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move to adjourn this meeting at 2:51 p.m.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you.